There was once a traveller who had forgotten how to travel. He had taken off his walking boots and folded up his map. He put the map in a box, which he put inside a box, which he put inside a box. He settled in a town and spent most of his time inside his cosy house. One day he stepped outside and a draught of wind caught him in its grip. It carried him over the rooftops, over the treetops to the outskirts of the town, where all roads ended and where there was a big old house. He knew straight away it was a dangerous place, for he saw the bell that sat on its roof. It was the bell that sounded when one of the residents escaped. He was scared. The sky was a grey lid. A low wind whispered around him. Not one bird sang. The traveller was just thinking about how he might manage to navigate his way back home when he noticed the large oak door of the big house was open. Perhaps, he thought to himself, I could ask the way back to the town, for I no longer have a map, and I don't know which way to go. He stood at the doorway and called inside. There was no reply. He called again. Silence. He pushed the door open a little further, and he shouted a little louder. "Excuse me," he yelled. "Is there anyone at home?" When his call was met with an empty stillness, he ventured a little further inside. He found himself standing in a large hallway with high walls and a long, thin staircase. A large clock ticked into the quiet. "You're a nice little boy, aren't you? Yes, you must enjoy life, you know. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Just enjoy life." The traveller looked up and saw that hanging from a beam there was a bird in a cage. "You are a nice boy, aren't you? You must enjoy life. That's what it's all about. You are a nice boy, aren't you?" The traveller stepped forward and looked up at the bird in the cage. As he did so, there was a great thud. The traveller turned to see that the oak door had slammed shut. He ran and tried valiantly to open the door, but he couldn't. He was trapped inside, and his heart beat fast in his chest. "I have nothing to lose now," he thought. "I must see what's here, see if I can get help." He saw a door off the hallway, and he opened it. The light that spilled in from the tall windows blinded him. Then he saw that sitting around the room there was a crowd of people, tall and small, old and young, men and women. In the middle of the room, next to a circular table, was a white-haired old woman. "Hello," she said. "Why don't you make yourself at home?" And she beckoned he sit down with her next to the table. He was just about to ask her how he could get out when the door of the room burst open and a handsome young man with smooth black hair wearing a circus leotard cartwheeled in. "Who's that?" asked the traveller. "This is the great Leithano. He used to be an acrobat, but he looks after us now." The acrobat niftily jumped onto the table and then onto the lampshade hanging in the middle of the ceiling. He smiled broadly. "Welcome," he said to the traveller. "We were expecting you. I've brought you something." And he whisked a white handkerchief from his belt, which, as it fluttered down, grew into a white tablecloth. The cloth fell perfectly neatly onto the table. "I shall fetch tea shortly," he said, as he swung from the lampshade, landed at the door, and took a bow. The people in the room applauded. "Well, that would be nice," began the traveller. "I'd quite like a cup of tea." "The tablecloth is not for tea," said the white-haired woman. "It's for this." And she fetched out of her bag a large pair of silver scissors. The traveller gulped with fear. He imagined himself like a patient on a table being cut open by a surgeon. He closed his eyes and muttered, "Please don't do it. I'm still only young. Please spare me." He heard the scissors snap shut. He heard the shuffling of chairs, and he waited for the sensation of sharp pain. It never came. When he opened his eyes, he saw that the residents were all sitting around the cloth with silver needles. The white-haired woman was snipping at the ends of yarn, and the crowd were busily stitching into the cloth. "What are you doing?" said the traveller. "We're sewing," said a woman with a pink feather in her hair, and the traveller felt silly for asking such an obvious question. "Listen," said the traveller, "this is all very well, but I only came in here because I'm lost. I need someone to help me open the door." "Patience," said a small girl in an old-fashioned vest and running shorts. The traveller noticed she was stitching a picture of ditches and fields, brooks and bridges. He watched. He saw emerging before him an intricate tapestry of lovers dancing, children playing, chimneys smoking, beaches and blue skies. Pictures were painted with thread. "This is my dog," said the lady with the pink feather in her hair as she sewed a picture of a hairy little hound. "She was beautiful. My mother's spirit lived on in her when she died." "What exactly is going on?" said the traveller, looking confused. What are you doing?" "That's me," said the white-haired woman, pointing to an image of a little girl with cut knees and holes in her cardigan, and she laughed gently. "We were very naughty. The more mess, the merrier. I was brought up with laughter and disgusting behaviour." She paused and looked directly at the traveller's confused face. "Can't you see, my dear? We're making you a map of our lives." And the traveller remembered the map he had folded up so neatly all those years ago, and put inside a box, which he had put inside a box, which he had put inside a box. Now he couldn't even remember where he had put the box. As he looked at the colourful tapestry, his spirit began to lift. Trees swayed, smoke billowed, young girls swooned at the sight of handsome captains. He could hear the sound of Beethoven being played on piano, the sound of children's laughter. The white tablecloth was transformed. It was an exquisite embroidery teeming with life. "Tea, anyone?" said the great Lothano, balancing a tray of teapot and teacups on one finger. When the tea had been drunk, the empty teacups were flicked skillfully into a neat vertical row on his head. "Nice to meet you," he shouted back, his voice disappearing through the open door. The residents stared at the traveller. "You can take it now," they said, folding the cloth and handing it to him. "You must forgive me," said the white-haired woman. "I remember things from long ago, but I tend to forget the important things." The traveller looked at the cloth and shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "You remember the most important things." And with that, the cloth began to tug him forward like a dog on a lead. "Goodbye," yelled the residents, and the cloth pulled him into the hallway, tangling the bird cage as it went. The great oak door flew open, and the traveller was whisked into the air, the cloth transforming into a multicoloured kite. The traveller's soul soared as he dangled over the house, the birdcage in his hand. The grey lid of sky opened, revealing a golden sun. The traveller looked down and realised that the large bell had disappeared, and in its place there was a flight of cooing doves. When the traveller found himself over the sea, the tapestry grew larger and larger, becoming a great sail above a sturdy ship. As the traveller looked out to new horizons, the bird sang to him. "You're a nice boy, aren't you? Yes, you must enjoy life, you know. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Just enjoy life. You must enjoy life. That's what it's all about, isn't it?"